Mr. Trump is a racist. The country has seen Mr. Trump court white supremacists and bigots. You have heard him call poorer countries shitholes. In private, he is even worse. He once asked me if I could name a country run by a black person that wasn't a shithole. This was when Barack Obama was president of the United States. And while we were once driving through a struggling neighborhood in Chicago, he commented that only black people could live that way. And he told me that black people would never vote for him because they were too stupid. And yet, I continued to work for him.
I asked Lynn to come today in her personal capacity to actually shed some light. How long have you known Ms. Patton?
I'm responsible for Lynn Patton joining the Trump Organization and the job that she currently holds.
Well, I'm glad you acknowledge that, because you made some very demeaning comments about the president that Ms. Patton doesn't agree with. In fact, it has to do with your claim of racism. She says that as a daughter of a man born in Birmingham, Alabama, that there is no way that she would work for an individual who was racist. How do you reconcile the two of those, Mr.
As neither should I, as the son of a Holocaust survivor.
To make a note, Mr. Chairman, just because someone has a person of color, a black person, working for them does not mean they aren't racist. And it is insensitive that some would even say it's the fact that someone would actually use a prop, a black woman, in this chamber, in this committee, is alone racist in itself.
Mr. Chairman, I ask that her words
Donald
be
Trump
taken
is setting
down.
a precedent. I reclaim my time.
Mr.
Donald
Chairman,
Trump is setting a precedent.
Mr. Chairman,
that the highest office can be attained.
Mr. Chairman, the rules are clear.
Activity.
My nieces and nephews are people of color. Not many people know that. You know that, Mr. Chairman. And to indicate that I asked someone who is a personal friend of the Trump family, who has worked for him, who knows this particular individual, that she's coming in to be a prop, it's racist to suggest that I asked her to come in here for that reason.
Congressman Mark Meadows outraged after his behavior during Michael Cohen's public testimony was called racist. But his track record suggests it might not be such a reach. Just listen to what he said a few years back about President Obama.
2012 is the time that we're going to send Mr. Obama home to Kenya or wherever it is. We're going to do it. If we do our job from a grassroots standpoint, we won't have to worry about it. You know what? We'll send him back home to Kenya or wherever it is.
We'll send him back home. So he's not from Kenya. I think the most basic, the most racist thing that sort of went on the right, I used to spend some time on the right, was this birther movement, was this send him back where he came. He seems like a card-carrying member way back when, and it wasn't a gotcha. We didn't catch him saying something by accident. We took 10 minutes and found 2 clips.
And, you know, the other thing is that this then was kind of taken by everyone as evidence. Like, yes, clearly, Mark Meadows has this past of racism, but also I think it underlines how preposterous it is for him to be so indignant that somebody called Donald Trump racist, right? Because Donald Trump was the leader of the birther movement. He was probably its most famous proponent. It's how he rose to political prominence. It's probably why he's president. And so the central, I think, kind of contradiction in our politics is that Donald Trump should be treated as beyond the pale. He should be shunned the way Steve King is shunned, right? He's a fringe racist figure who is also the president, and so should be shunned but can't be shunned. And the Republicans have a difficult time, I think, managing this contradiction. And the way they try to manage it is to act as if it's somehow not only questionable that Donald Trump is racist, but taboo to talk about his evident racism.
They're not saying we're not racist out of sensitivity to people of color. They're saying we're not racist out of sensitivity to white suburban housewives who they need to vote Republican.
Mr. Trump is a racist. The country has seen Mr. Trump court white supremacists and bigots. You have heard him call poorer countries shitholes. In private, he is even worse. He once asked me if I could name a country run by a black person that wasn't a shithole. This was when Barack Obama was president of the United States. And while we were once driving through a struggling neighborhood in Chicago, he commented that only black people could live that way. And he told me that black people would never vote for him because they were too stupid. And yet, I continued to work for him.
And in this room is Emmy's current playroom.
But this is real life, you guys. This is real life, y'all.
They're saying we're not racist out of sensitivity to white suburban housewives who they need to vote Republican.
They're playing to the independents because they say or do nothing that would offend the racists that they know are supporting them for race. So they go to where, oh no, don't call us racist, but I'm going to do racist stuff. Don't worry about that. Because they want to keep the independents neutralized and they want to have that crowd with them. Because Donald Trump takes every opportunity to whip up that crowd while he tries to tell people that he thinks is a little independent. How dare them call me racist, even though I've done and said their countries are S-hole countries and any other litany of things.
These aren't people. These are animals. And we're taking them out of the country at a level and at a rate that's never happened before.
But don't call me that because I may need a few independents. But wink, wink, you guys know that I'm really saying what we all believe.
And he never breaks that pattern.
You know, he never does. And I hear people saying that this could be a teachable moment, and I'm all in favor of teachable moments when it comes to race. But before you can get to the teachable moment, you have to say what it is. You have to acknowledge what you've done, you know, what you've thought, where you've been. And there is no willingness on that side of the aisle to say, we need to reconsider who we are and what our values are and do more than just pander to voters. But before you can get to the teachable moment, you have to say what it is. And there is no willingness on that side of the aisle to say, we need to reconsider who we are and what our values are and do more than just pander to voters.
And then all 5 of the bedrooms in this house do come with their own bathroom and walk-in closets. So that's obviously nice. As our family grows, we will need that space.
And part of that legacy is that we're seeing this continue.
All right, on another day, we'll talk about the fact that of the 3 things Cohen charged, racism, the financial crimes, and the cover-up, the only one they even tried to rebut was racism.